Good morning. I'm a little bit early today, as I said yesterday, and tomorrow I'll be with you at 9 o'clock for worship from my house here, since the weather is quite cold outside. Today we're going to look at the second half of Matthew 23, starting at verse 23. And yesterday we read the first of the three of the seven woe to you that Jesus spoke to the Pharisees. And the one now starting out is, woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for you pay tithes of mint and anise and cumin, and have neglected the weightier things of the law, justice, mercy, and faith. In it, this is what they were doing. They were looking at portions of things, but they were forgetting that above all, that a Christian, a follower of God, is to, look for justice and to have mercy and to have faith and trust and to know those things. And they were they were forgotten about. And then next one, he says, woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for you cleanse the outside of the cup and the dish, but they are full of extortion and self-indulgence. Blind Pharisees, first cleanse the inside of the cup, and then the outside will be clean too. He's talking about them. He's talking about, and it was kind of like when they were talking about the rituals of hand washing and stuff, and when later on when Jesus is going to wash the disciples' feet, Peter says, not mine, and then when Jesus says, unless I wash you, and then Peter wants his whole body clean. But they were doing the ritual ceremonies of washing and making themselves look good on the outside, but forgetting that it's what's inside, that's what counts, and that they needed to ask for that forgiveness, that they needed to clean the dirt out of who they were inside, in their head, in their mind, and in their heart. And so Jesus said to them, you guys are hypocrites. You're saying this and you're showing this, but what you're really thinking inside is totally different. The way you're living is not right. And he says, woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for you are like whitewashed tombs, which are beautiful outside, but inside are just full of dead men's bones and uncleanliness. And again, talking to them about, what's in their minds and in their hearts. We can look at things and say, oh, how beautiful they are. And it's like the disciples did that too with the temple. They sit there and they look and they say to Jesus, oh, how beautiful the temple is. And tomorrow we're going to, Jesus is going to talk about the destruction of the temple and stuff, so I don't want to get too much into that. But, we look often at outward appearances. And we do that of people real often. We look at... we kind of idolize some of the movie stars, and we want to be the rich and the famous. We look at their lives and say, man, how great it would be to be that. And on the outside they may look good, but if we really examine what's going on inside there, in their lives and all of the chaos, and they're being rich, being famous doesn't make your life that's just going to go sweet and true all the way. They have as many problems or more than we do, but we look on that outside appearance, and this is what Jesus is saying. You're putting on a good show outside, and he's just kind of emphasizing that quite a bit, that you're showy. And it's you can look, say, at a classic car or something that's been all fixed up, or these old, a mansion that's fixed up and then its prime looks great on the outside, but hasn't been taken care of inside or whatever, and they just they're no good. They're not livable, whatever, but they can look nice. And so don't do things just for looks, but do things out of the heart that make a difference for other people. And then Jesus says, you guys are witnesses. Therefore, you are witnesses against yourselves that you are sons of those who murdered the prophets. And the Jewish people have had so many prophets and so many times that God has has spoken to them through the prophets, and they've ignored them, they've killed them, they've mocked them, they've done so many things against the prophets. And Jesus is saying to them, to these scribes and Pharisees, it's because of people like you. I mean, maybe these particular Pharisees and scribes hadn't killed any specific prophets themselves, but it was their mental attitude, their thought processing, their reluctance to really see that within themselves they needed to be cleansed. And and a lot of what they were speaking and teaching is just like Jesus said yesterday, beware of what they teach. You'll follow what they teach, but don't do what they do, because they're not doing it. And so Jesus is just reiterating that for them, that you gotta be clean inside. You gotta be right with God, and that's what's most important. And he talks about different prophets that the Jewish people nationwide just rejected and turned away from. And the ending of chapter 23, Jesus laments over Jerusalem. "O Jerusalem, Jerusalem, the one who killed the prophets, had stones against them set to her." And he says, "How often I wanted to gather your children together as a hen gathers her chicks under her wings, but you were not willing." Think about that. A hen or a goose, or these birds, when they sense danger, when there's bad weather, or even at nighttime when they sleep, where do the chicks sleep? They nestle in underneath the mother's and the father's bodies, and they're protected by the body and by the wings. And in a heavy rainstorm, you can, if you've ever been fortunate to even see a picture that someone took, the parent bird will be sitting there with its arms, with its wings outstretched, and the little ones underneath and protected. And even when they just walk across the road or do anything, I had some geese going across the road in front of me, and here the one adult is ahead and the other adult is behind, making sure they all stay together. They're protecting their young. And Jesus is saying, this is how I, God, would have you, the Israelite nation, the Jewish nation. I would gather you, and I would protect you, and I would take care of you, and I would provide and protect from all things. But you're not willing. You're not willing. Those are some telling words, those three. You're not willing. And we need to be able to acknowledge to God that we need God, that we need a Savior, that we need forgiveness. Because if we say we're perfect, oh boy, are we ever wrong. But we need to be willing to say that we are sinners in need of a loving and forgiving God. And when we do that, God is what he told the Pharisees that they were lacking. God is filled with justice, with mercy, and with faith. He has that love for us. And so this is what Jesus is saying. And then he says to the scribes and the Pharisees, this as he's having a conversation with them, and he says, you guys aren't going to see me again now until they say, blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord. Hunter's getting his little vision in here toward the end. We're getting ready to take off for the day, but there he is, getting up on the chair and going to take one more look at Grandma's village over there. So for today, I think that's enough. But just to remind you again that, Jesus is talking to the Pharisees, the scribes, and to you and me about not just putting on a good face, not just putting on a good show, but to know and to remember that we need God's love and God's grace and God's forgiveness. And we need to live out our faith in so many ways. So we'll see you tomorrow morning. Thanks for tuning in today, and bye.